behind the symbol of love, which is the heart. The heart is one of the hardest working organs in your body. After all, it is responsible for pumping blood throughout a vast array of blood vessels, spanning 100,000 kilometers in total. Alright, let's dig in. There are three main components of the human circulatory system, which are the blood vessel, and the heart. So now, let's see the structure of the heart. The heart pumps blood throughout the body, in which carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell. It's this circulation of blood that is vital to sustaining life. The heart is an organ made of several top layers of muscle. The pericardium is the thin layer that covers the exterior, while the endocardium lines the inside walls. The heart is divided into 4 chambers, 2 upper and 2 lower. The upper chambers, known as the atrium, receive blood coming into the heart. The lower chambers are the ventricles that pump blood out. Between each chamber are valves that open and close and help keep the blood moving. They are known as tricuspid, mitral, pulmonary, and aortic valves. The cycle starts when oxygen repleted blood returns to the heart after circulating throughout the body. The blood enters through the right atrium before flowing to the right ventricle. It is then pumped to the lungs via the pulmonary arteries. There, blood is rejuvenated by air that is breathed in. The oxygen-rich blood returns to the heart through the left atrium, where it goes to the left ventricle. Then, by way of the aorta artery, the fresh blood is pumped throughout the body before the process repeats by itself. That process happens with every heartbeat, and it is relentless. The heart beats 100,000 times a day, 40 million times a year, and up to 3 billion times over an average lifespan. So, after learning the function of each part of the heart, what do you guys think? Does it make you feel like you wanna eat healthy the rest of your life? Because I am. I don't know if I will achieve that, but I will try. And it makes me feel like I should exercise more. So, let's do that later. Before we discuss the composition of blood, let's take a look at this video.
What happened to your blood after we collect it? Wait 10 minutes until it coagulate. After 10 minutes, balance tube in centrifuge with same amount of blood. Centrifuge the tube for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the tube is ready for testing.
Our blood is composed of plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. When a sample of blood is spun in a high-speed centrifuge, the blood separates into 3 layers. The upper layer is pale-colored plasma, which makes up 55% of the blood. The plasma is composed of 90% of water and contains proteins like albumin, globulin, and fibrinogen, which is to help in maintaining osmotic pressure, transport liquids and ions, and help form blood clots. The plasma acts as a buffer in the blood. It helps maintaining osmotic pressure between blood and tissue fluid. Osmotic pressure is the pressure that we need to apply to stop the flow of solvent molecules from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution through a semi-permeable membrane. It is also served as a medium of transport for soluble food substances, minerals, waste products, and hormones, and helps distribute heat around the body. The lower layer is darker and composed of blood cells. These make up 45% of the blood. The red blood cells or erythrocytes are biconcave discs which lack of nucleus and have elastic membranes that allow erythrocytes to squeeze into the tiniest capillaries. The biconcave shape gives the cell its high surface area to volume ratio, improving gas exchange, while lack of nucleus makes additional space for hemoglobin. The erythrocytes formed in the bone marrow. After 120 days of service, they are broken down in the spleen and also the liver. The salvage ion is stored in the liver while the rest of the hemoglobin forms bile pigments. The thin middle layer is called a buffy coat. It consists of white blood cells and platelets. The white blood cells, or also known as leukocytes or phagocytes, are larger than red blood cells and are irregularly shaped. They contain granular leukocytes, which makes up 65% of the composition and produced in the bone marrow. A granular leukocytes make up the rest, 35% of the composition, and are formed in the lymph nodes. They both show amoeboid movements. Leukocytes' main function is to make up the body's defense mechanism by actively seeking out and digesting bacteria and producing antibodies that destroy bacteria and neutralize their toxins. Phagocytes have lobed nuclei. They reach the site of infection and form pseudopodia, or also known as false feet. It then engulfs or eats the bacteria and the site of infection becomes inflamed. Dead tissue, dead and living bacteria and phagocytes form pus. This pus is harmless, which then dries up if left untouched and falls off. The second component of buffy coat is platelets. Platelets are tiny pieces of cytoplasm with no nucleus, but most cell organelles for regular function. They are normally present in the bloodstream in an inactivated state. When platelets encounter a break in the epithelium, they activate with the help of various molecules like collagen, which is not present in a healthy blood vessel. The collagen is one of the thrombogenic compounds that are responsible for platelet adhesion. It's turning the platelets sticky to each other and forming a platelet plug. Such a long explanation, right? So, let's have a look at this video. Now, let's look at the blood vessels. They are arteries, capillaries, and veins. To quickly summarize, the arteries carry blood away from the heart. The capillaries exchange nutrients and oxygen with the tissues, and the veins carry the blood back to the heart. As you look at these three pictures, they all have different structure of each type of vessel in which related to its own function. As arteries carry blood directly from the heart, the blood inside them is going to be at a really high pressure because it's just been pumped out to the ventricles. In order to bear these high pressures, the arteries need to be both strong and elastic, and to achieve this, they have thick layer of muscle tissue to keep them strong and a thick layer of elastic tissue so they can stretch and recoil. These two layers, meaning that the wall of the artery is quite thick when compared to lumen, which is what we call the hole or space in the middle of the vessel. Once the arteries have transported the blood to the different parts of the body, it enters the capillaries. These vessels are really small and come into close contact with all of the cells in our body. Their role is to exchange substances with our cells, giving them useful nutrients and oxygen and taking away waste products like carbon dioxide. If you take a closer look at a single capillary, we can see how they are adapted to this function. For example, their walls are only a single cell thick, and they are also permeable, which means that substances can easily diffuse through them. Because they are so tiny, the lumen of an individual capillary is also tiny. But there are so many of them that a total cross-sectional area, which is the area of all the capillaries added together, it's actually huge, far higher than for arteries. This means that the pressure of the blood is much lower than in the arteries, and so it flows more slowly, which gives the blood time to exchange things with the tissues. Finally, these tiny capillaries start to join up into larger vessels called veins, which transport the blood back to the heart. Veins are relatively large with by far the biggest lupines of any blood vessels. They also have relatively thin walls with only small layers of elastic fibers and smooth muscle. This works fine though, because the blood that they carry is at very low pressures, so the walls don't need to be very strong. The important thing to remember about veins, though, it is they have valves which prevent blood from flowing backwards, ensuring that it always flows towards the heart. Now we have completed the subtopic for 10.2, which is the human circulatory system. Congrats everyone! I'll see you in my next class. Bye!